Hello, Mr. Martin.
For me, not you.
Hello, good afternoon. All right, great. So let's just wait for other persons to come in.
Okay.
All right. So how was yesterday's class?
It was interactive. It was introductory, basically. Yeah, I learned a lot, especially that bootstrap. But then I think you need to review.
Okay. So, but I think yesterday was more of a rush though, because there are some things that I felt like I should have taken because of not everyone has that pre-understanding of programming before. I know like a good number of us already have done programming before, but not everyone has.
A good number. But then I think you mentioned sharing the curriculum. Like the part that we are going to take. I think you mentioned sharing something about that though.
Yes, I did post it. I did post it on the Slack channel. Did you get to see it?
Okay, probably I've not visited Slack since yesterday evening though, so I've not seen it yet.
All right. I'll do well to go over it today as well before we continue.
Okay, I'm glad to be in this class. So good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to you as well. Good afternoon to everyone in the house. So let's just hold on till like 2:30 before we begin fully. But while waiting, let us just go over the things we did in the last class. If you have anyone, like if we have anyone here who didn't get a full grasp of what we did last class, it's fine. It's fine, and we still get to go over it again as well. So don't be scared if you don't get it. So I'll be taking it slower and walking us through the breakdown of the course outline as well.
Or you use the earpiece, no more better. Because now when the teacher man use computer.
So does
just come to the
so if you have any question, if you have any question regarding yesterday's class, please as well feel free to drop them in the chat section. I'll see them and I'll address them as soon as I get them. Okay. So, all right, Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Please, can you give me like an overview of what you got yesterday from yesterday's class?
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, actually, yesterday I didn't follow through, but I was confused along the way. I was trying to ask questions, but I got no reply. Because most of all the syntax used, I don't understand some of them. Hello.
So you're saying most of the syntax used, you don't understand them at all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. That's fine as well. Don't. They, do we have any other person in the room like Emmanuel? Brian?
They call my name. Let me
Okay. So do you have any problem or like any um issue with yesterday's class? If there's anything that you felt like didn't set or you didn't properly understand. That's directed to Brian. Okay. So we have 8% with us here today. I mean, we're short of our attendance yesterday. So yeah, victory.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Happy Sunday to everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but the audio is low. The audio is low.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Is it better now?
Yes. Yes, it is.
All right. I just want to say something, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah. I think after yesterday's teaching,
Mm-hmm.
I just got to realize that the you know you asked a question, and the reason, or you asked questions to participants. And the reason why you asked was so that you would be able to meet the learners where they are.
Okay.
So I realized yesterday that there was a bridge, or do I use, there was a barricade between you waiting or where you are and where the learner. You should understand that I think we all, we don't have the same knowledge. And sometimes you're asking questions because you do not understand, and you don't understand why you're doing it. So I think, let's look for a way to balance and meet up the learner, where they are. This might be very good, but I think this is just what I have to say.
Okay. If,
Yeah.
if, if if I understand what you're trying to say, it's more of like what was the way I communicated across yesterday was as though like you knew more than you already know. Am I correct?
Maybe something like that, maybe not. But all I'm just saying is, we should, let's try more to meet the learners where they are, because we all are not in the same level.
Okay.
I think that's just, I know you understand what I'm saying. So I'm just going to stop there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your
Hello.
contribution.
Hello.
Mr. Emmanuel.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, please, I have a question
All
on
right.
yesterday's class. I want to find out, we talk about document object modeling, and that is being used, you can use to track as in identify each element
Yes.
in your page that you are building.
Yes.
I discovered you use class to identify divs,
Yes.
and you use ID to
Mm-hmm.
identify the submit to identify controls like test box and test area that you're able to capture and send to your console.
Yes.
So I want to find out, is it that can we still use class?
Yes,
Is it able
definitely.
can use class to track
Yes, definitely. You can use
some?
class. In fact, you can use class. You can use the ID. You can also use their names as well. So like
Okay,
all
can use their name.
yes. So like all of those attributes can be used to identify a particular element. However, where the problem would be is that, for example, the ID of a particular element is supposed to be unique across the entire DOM. Okay. So, like
Okay,
in such a situation where you have multiple elements bearing the
duplicate.
same bearing the same ID, you will end up with you end up picking one of them.
Okay,
Unlike a situation whereby you are addressing it with so on the class level, the selection is different. Okay,
okay,
there might be a situation whereby multiple elements, have the same class, and you would like to, just, make a general effect on all of them, but the ID is, specific to that particular element you are addressing.
okay. Thank you very much. I want to comment on your training. It was quite good and it was quite exposing. But there's something you assumed, which some of us may be able to cope, maybe because we have programming background for coming. But like when you were teaching, you now come to the concept of objects, and you
Okay.
created objects. You
Okay.
didn't make your listener understand the syntax, what exactly is object before
Okay.
going to object.
Yes, that
So I
was it.
would advise that maybe you just give us the elementary when into like that console.log. You can
Yes.
swear just send it to console instead of bringing the concept of object.
Hmm.
Maybe when you now for advanced class, you start telling us about that object. Because I know you use object because you want to link it to MongoDB or
Yeah.
Mongoose.
Yeah. That was
But I know here, yes. But you can see the
that was a jump
syntax
actually.
may be that complicated for newbies. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I understand. That was a jump actually, just to like show us what is possible. That is not the pathway that we're using in the class.
Okay, sir.
So like today, before we begin properly, I'll be walking us through the pathway as in that we have for the program, from the uh, from the basics down to the very very important um, part, complex part of it.
Okay,
Thank you.
sir. Sir, please, lastly, the video that was promised,
Yes,
I went to Slack. I don't know how to get it. I don't know whether.
I believe it has been posted on the Slack channel.
Yes, I went to my Slack. I didn't see anything like that.
Oh, okay. I will speak. I'll speak to Mr. Bayo there as well, because I asked him as well, and he told me like it will be posted. At the point I asked him, it was like it's be done immediately. So and I believe so as well. But I will communicate across and
Okay,
we'll
sir.
get it done.
After this class, I will check. Thank you.
All right. So all right. I believe we can go on now. It's 2:30. So I don't know. Dario is not around. I saw him trying to join, but for some reasons I don't know what happened. All right. So trying to fire up my documents right here. Start. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen now with yours. So can you see my screen right there? Can we all see my screen, please?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, great. So I dropped the link to this particular document as well on the Slack channel. I don't know if we all have seen it or gone through it as well.
Sorry, can we have it in the chat box here?
The link to that document.
Yeah, can we just drop it in the chat box also, please?
Okay, I dropped it right here. So one moment, please. All right. So I just posted it to the channel as well, to the chat. So please. So all right. So what we did yesterday was more of an introductory pathway to see how the HTML couples with the CSS and the JavaScript, how they all interact together. But that JavaScript part will be taking it more on the we'll be taking it more on as a subject of its own right there. So currently I'm trying to add some more process to the all right. So we're 10 of us are right here in the room. I'm just trying to make sure like there's no one in the waiting area. All right. So let's go on. So we have the definition of terms right there that we covered yesterday. That is like the computation, programming, algorithm, etc. Right. So then the overview of HTML and CSS. So for those of us that have this document open, if you scroll down to the base of the file, you will see the HTML article that I wrote there briefly. So that's just to go over the things that we discussed yesterday as well. Then I provided some links to it. Like if you want to read more on the if you want to read more on the articles. Yeah. So covered classes, the IDs, the styles, the on click and all of these things. We are still gonna come back to them anyway, because that is what our work will be revolving around. So but back to the top right here, as you can see, I'm going over the overview with HTML and CSS. So we did that yesterday. So we'll be beginning from This web request cycle, I would be explaining it more in between our programming with JavaScript and the React.js development. So just how the entire stuff works from, making a request to a particular server, and how you process the response, and the request process the request and give back the response. So that one is there. So we have introduction to JavaScript, understanding the JavaScript syntax, which some of us have a bit of problem understanding the last class. So we also have introduction to the document and window objects, etc., variable operators, data types, numbers, the math string manipulations. So all of these things will be going over them. So we might not finish them at a goal, we might not finish them at a sitting, but definitely all of these things we'll be doing them together. We'll give assignments on it, and we'll see how we can collectively as a class have a full grasp of what we're doing. So that is that. Please, if you haven't seen this document, let me know so that I know how best to communicate that across to you. So I believe everyone has a copy of that document with them now. So I will be updating this document from time to time. So everything that we discuss in class. So after the class, I'll go back to the document and add, a bit more explanation to this document. So um, that is it. So moving on from where we stopped yesterday. Um, share. All right. So this was where we stopped yesterday. Um, so one important thing I would like us to know, okay, for this one, we can just, let me just create another one for us to see. Let's call this index2.js, .html. Right? So we can close all this. So please let's get our Visual Studio code fired up. Let's get it fired up. So if you have any issue with this, please feel free to call me back. Mm. So I'll be walking us through the basics and fundamentals of JavaScript right here uh, from Visual Studio as well as our browser environment as well. So,
Hello, sir.
hello, sir.
Yes, sir. I wanted to find out that I still discovered you are not in class. Are you still having problem joining the class?
Okay. So
Okay. But then is the problem network or there's something we can do?
okay. All right. So are we all here together, please? So from this point, please let's click on the go live. I told us how to get the go live add-on from Visual Studio. Just click on your extension bar here and search the live server. Sorry, live server, this one by Retweak Day. So that is that's the add-on that we're using. So once you install this particular add-on, you can click on the go live at the bottom of your screen like this. So it shows you some stuff like that, and right there is a document. Right. So this is what we have at the moment. Welcome to TechBridge JavaScript class. So now, for convenience sake, what we'll do is to like split our screen into two. Please do it. You can pass this to the the corner of your screen like that. So we're able to see what is being done. Then for this particular screen as well, you can pass it to the other half of your screen like that. So please. Mr. Brian, can you close and open your Visual Studio again? Or if possible, uninstall and install it again. So we all know how this works. Like this is an entire DOM structure. Like everything is a node and element inside of each other. The head is inside the HTML, the meta is inside the head, and the same with the title, the body, this element right here, this element P, which means a paragraph, is inside the body as well. So, and we talked about how you can add attributes to various elements. So, in paragraph, so you can give it a class as well, and give it a class. You can give it a name as well. Name. So those are and we have many more attributes. So please do well to go over this particular article that I wrote below the course outline. So, all right. So I can just give this a style, font size. So you can see, like, the reason why I have it side by side is that whatever it is we do right here, we can get a feedback instantly. That's that's the reason why the live server is really good to use. So if I reduce this down to like 10, I get the instant result right there. So that's what we are looking at. Okay. So now, the first thing I would like to say in this class is the script tags. This is a body tag, okay? The body which houses the various elements that are meant to be displayed on the HTML part of our program. So now the script tag rather, is the element that houses or contains your JavaScript code. Okay, so right inside your script tag, if you um, if you write your console.log, which is more like an equivalent of other programming languages way of just telling your system to display something out. Okay, you are giving the computer a particular value. Okay, my name is Goke. All right, so console.log 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 that particular value of that variable that I'm giving to the system. So in this case, if I'm saying console.log my name, or better still, the best way to do this ahead of console.log, let's use the alert system. Um, my name is Koke, so you can input your name there as well. If you save it, you can see I get an alert right there on the browser. My name is Koke. So please, if you have any challenge in that regards, feel free to drop your message so I can see. So the alert just gives a particular warning on the uh, on the window, just to tell you this is what is happening. A lot of us must have seen this in browsers already. Maybe when you're browsing the internet, you see something like that on your phone or on your laptop. So it works. So this is the script tag right here. However, although we are effecting a change here inside of the Visual Studio, the browser itself is a good tool for programming. I said that in the last class. So you can just click on inspect here at this corner. You can, let's make this full screen for now. So you can click on inspect at this corner and go to your console aspect here. So right here you can call the alert, for example, alert. My name is Charlie. Okay, so you get that same thing right there as well. So the browser itself is a good tool for programming. Okay, so don't forget, you can always use that. So the console.log, okay, tech bridge programming class. Okay, so it gives you back that same okay, yeah, so it gives you back that same tech bridge programming class right there. So console.log, you can see, so I'm just repeating the same command over and over again. That's why it's there. So, and so if you want to play your console, right, just call the clear function there. So this clear, it cleans up everything. Right. So back to Visual Studio. Yeah. So this script tag can also contain your code this way, or better still, you can provide a location for that particular JavaScript file, whereby you provide a location which will be creating here. So let's create alongside. Let's create a new file. Let's call it. I'm calling my control.js. You can call yours just about anything. Okay, so this control.js, let's have an an alert. This is a JavaScript class. Okay, this is a JavaScript class. We save it. Alert. This is just a one line inside of our control.js. This is a JavaScript class, and we're providing the link to that particular file, which is in the same directory with our index2.html, which is the file that we're using. So just /control.js, and so saving that, you can get this is a JavaScript class right there. All right, are we together? So now let's focus more. Let's focus more on our control.js, so we can, because this is where we are going to be doing most of the things that we'll be writing. And at this other hand, just you can click on your inspect again and focus. Let's focus on the console, because this is where we'll be displaying most of the things that we want to, like, as in to visualize the things we're doing right here inside the Visual Studio Code. So the first thing I would like to cover here is the console output. Console output. So don't forget, my double slash is a way to comment on in JavaScript. So what are comments? Comments are, okay, no pun intended, but comments are comments, like inside of your program. So let's say you're trying to write something, or you're trying to create a calculation, and you want to describe that particular calculation, so that maybe next time you're going over that particular file, you can understand what this does and what that does. So that is why, comment is really important in programming. It cannot be overemphasized. So the comments goes along with something called documentation as well. So documentation is when you keep the profile of that particular code that you're writing. So what we are doing right now is like we are coding. Okay, so we are coding. For some of us, I feel like maybe it's until you build uh, something big that 50 million people are using before you think you're a programmer. No, you are a programmer from the day you wrote Alex. This is a JavaScript class. So we'll be going over the console output. So let's try it. Console.log. Console.log. Let's say hello world. So if we save this, you can see right there in the console here, it shows hello world. So please ignore my default one root logger and using default time series implementation. Sorry, this is from an add-on that I have. It's Grammarly, so it's just for grammar. It's just to make sure I don't make mistakes while typing. So grammatical errors. So they are not part of the class at all. So don't be disturbed that you're not seeing the same thing. So, are we together, please? Okay, Mr. Emmanuel is asking that should we delete what we did yesterday? No, you don't have to. You don't have to delete what we did yesterday. What I did was that I created a new file. I called it I called it index2.html. So this is what we did yesterday. It's still right there. It's still right there. This is what we did yesterday, index.html. I just created a new file. I called it index2.html. And I created another one, control.js, which is where we are, experimenting what we are learning today, the control.js file. So the control.js file is what we linked here using the script tags. Don't forget, when you want to link JavaScript to your HTML file, you link it via the script tag. Okay, so your script, this is it here, your script and the source. So this is it here, your script and the source. So the source is going to specify the location. So had it been this particular JavaScript file is on a different website, maybe it's like it's emmanuel.com. So it's going to be emmanuel.com/control.js. So .js. So that would be like the source of that particular JavaScript file. So in this case, where the source is on our local document, it's in the same directory as our index.html file. So that is why we are using the /control.js. By the time you give it the /, it already gives you suggestions of the file in that same directory. So don't forget what the directory is. That was the reason why I told us to spin up our command prompt yesterday. So you know what that means already. So I don't have to go over it again. Your command prompt, your change directory, CD, which means change directory. That is what it means. Change directory. You can either go forward or go backward. I don't want to go over that again, but that's what it means. So a directory is just like a folder that contains other folders or documents in itself. So that is that regard. Okay. All right. So are we all right then? We're right there in our control.js file, and we have our HTML page loaded using live server. So that is what we're doing here. So yeah, that we have console.log. Console.log is not the only thing we have. You can error. If you want to like console an error out there, this is an error. This is an error. So you have it there. You can see this is an error. You can console.one that can issue a warning. This is a warning. So there are also other things that you can add, console.table and all of those things, but we'll be, limiting our scope in this class to control and console.log, which pretty much does whatever it is that we want it to do in this particular case. So please let's keep track of that. Let's know that. So moving on from the console output, I'll be going on to like variables. So in JavaScript, there are basically three ways to declare a variable, because a variable needs to be declared. You have to tell the computer, that you're trying to create like an entity. You're trying to create a value. So the three ways that we can create The three ways that we can, three ways to create, which is you can create via the using var. So don't forget var. You can create using the let command and the const. So I believe that came up yesterday. I believe that came up yesterday where someone saying you should use var, and instead of let or const, etc. So, but largely today the main ways of creating variables is using the let command and the const command. So the var is quite outdated. So the let and const came with the ES6. Um, ES standing for Ekman script. Those are the guys. Let me just break it down. The ES, whatever, when you hear people say ES this, ES that, the ES is just a standard, because at the end of the day, you're writing JavaScript. Somebody like you and I created JavaScript. Okay, so every language out there, somebody created them, or like a group of people manage them today. So there is industry agreed way of writing things, or like doing things, or the people that control this language, the people that created them. There are some tools that they introduced to it. There are some features they had to it over time. So like prior to this era, the var, the var, or whichever way you call it, is one of the ways of declaring a variable, but now we have the let and const. Largely the difference between that is because when you use the var to declare a variable, let's say name, it's global, like it's global. So in a situation whereby maybe you created another um, sub class, or like maybe inside of a function, now you're trying to create another variable with similar name, it could lead to a system confusion where you might run into an error. So like it's really tricky with the var command. So that's why let and const are like the standard these days. So when do you use let and when do you use const? So let is used when, okay, this might come down to different opinions in the industry, but you should use let when you are sure that that particular variable is going to like change in value, like the value of that variable is going to change. Okay, but you go with const when you are sure that the value is not going to like change over time, like at least during the course of your program, or like through the entire body work of your code, etc. It's not going to change. So that is what let and const is all about. So for example, if you set let age let age be equals to let age be equals to 10 right now. So if you console.log age, then you will get 10 right here. So what is happening here is that we told the system that we are creating a variable. The name of that particular variable is age. Now, what we did here on line 3, okay, on line 3 is this variable assignment operation. This is called a variable assignment operation. That is what happened on line 3. So please, I think it's important for, like I told you earlier, it makes sense for us to like know what we are doing. Okay, it's not just important to like just cram or know what to do, but you should be able to like talk about what you're doing. So right now in line 3, what we did was that we assigned a value to a particular variable, and that is called a variable assignment operation. And what this means, this age, given a breakdown of this, the age is the variable, okay? 10 right here is the value. Why this equals to sign is not the same equals to in mathematics that we're taught in primary school. Okay, it's not the same. It's different. this is an assignment operator. Okay, like you are trying to say that the age is 10. It's different from equals to in mathematics. I'll still go back to, I'll still cover that later in the future, but just to like tell you like it's different. So right here, we are showing like, you know, telling the system to log the value of the age, which is 10. So now, if you say that age is 50, okay, then console.log age, you would see that it's telling us that it's 50 right here in the console. So please try that. We assigned a value of 10 to age. Then we later changed it to 50. Then we are logging the value of that age and it's giving us the latest update. So this is because let allows us to reassign a value to that particular variable. Had it been that this was a const variable declaration path, we will get an error. You can see here that tells us that on const type error, assignments to a constant variable. So JavaScript does not allow you to reassign value to a constant, or like, yeah, a constant variable. So I don't know if we
Hello,
understood
Mr.
that.
Kuto.
Yes, sir.
Some people are waiting in they have been in the waiting room now for like 10 minutes and I've been sending messages for no reply.
Okay. All right. That's Mr. Martins. So Martins was in just now. All right. So they're all in. They're all in.
Okay,
Thank you.
please, I think you should kindly take off the waiting room picture so that anybody who's out by network can easily come in without having to interact.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. I'll do that. Okay. So, like, are we all following? Please, if you have any question, please feel free to call me back to on any of the things that we're discussing. All right. So, we're there together. All right. So the const will always give us an error. So always remember that, you know, there are two primary ways of assigning or creating a variable in JavaScript, which is the let and the const. While we have the var, it's an old way of, you know, creating variables. So it still works to today. If you want to use it, it works fine as well. So you could easily call this var. It still gives us our response the way we want it. It's just like it's with, you know, better ways has been created to, you know, uh, create variables. So like moving on from variable creation, um, we'll be going to data types. We're going to data types. So taking us back to the article I showed us earlier about what a programming language is. So a programming language, like I said, is a tool, you know, for representation of a algorithm in a simple way that the computer can understand. So this programming language that we're talking about provides some control construct, yeah? So this control construct are part of the ways in which the computer understands what we're trying to communicate across. So data types are like the different kind of ways in which the computer now can understand what you're trying to like break down or what you're trying to like pass to it. So in JavaScript um, we have this excuse me please. In JavaScript we have data types such as strings. We have the numbers. excuse me, we have the numbers, we have boolean right there, we have the null, and we have undefined. Okay, so these are the main data types that we have in JavaScript. Strings, the numbers, boolean. By strings we mean every text that we have, like everything that you just type, like alphabet, numbers, like just combined together, like as a text message, something like, just look at it like a text message. Yeah. So numbers, on the other hand, are values from like zero, strictly 0 to you know 1 to 10 and their multiples. Okay. That is the numbers. Why the boolean? Just to like break it down for you. So for a string, we have things like, this is how you denote a string. A string has the quotes symbol, so it has it there. So JavaScript, for example, this is a string right there. So for a number, you have things like, one is a number, 2, 10, 50, 4.9, etc., like 200.6. So all of these are numbers. For those of us that have been programming before, that have been, like using other programming languages, in JavaScript, we do not have things like, decimal numbers, or like floating point numbers, or, all of those categories of numbers that we have in other programming language. JavaScript is just numbers. So everything is numbers. Either it's, 4.9, 200.6, or 10. It's all numbers. So for our Boolean, we have the true, um, rather, we have the true, the false. Okay, those are Boolean. Then for null, null is null. Okay, so what does null mean? Null is just like, you know, telling the system that you're creating a variable, but the value does not exist yet. Okay, like the value doesn't exist yet, so it's empty. It's empty, or better say, you're telling the system to assign. You're telling the system to assign, some anything that it wants with. So then we have the undefined. Like, so undefined is also a way to it's also, yeah, it's one of the amazing things about JavaScript, the fact that it's possible for you to define a variable as undefined. It's really, it sounds like a paradox, but yes, it does exist in JavaScript. So it's one of the amazing things about it. If you say it, if you look at it that way. So now, these are the basic data types that we have in JavaScript. So um, to go forward from here, let's create something like name. Okay, const um, name is equals to JavaScript. Then let's say age, con, const age is equals to 30. So um, const is Kristen, because false. Const is Muslim, is true. True. Const salary, no. And yeah, undefined is undefined. So but for namelets, Olayiwola. So we have this. So let's console.log. Okay, I would just like to like say this on the side. Like even though for me, I'm trying to like clear up the entire document just to like move on. At your own hand, you don't have to like clear everything up. So what you can do, you can just comment it out. I don't know. I believe that is going to like help you better. Like comment it out and just write underneath it. So when you want to like comment out on in Visual Studio, so just highlight everything, Control A, all right? Then you can press Control KC. So Control KC comment everything out. Okay, then you can move on to like writing um beneath it, like the other things that you need to do. All I'm saying is like after this particular um subtopic of data type, we can move on to other things. So we're moving on to that things. You don't have to like clear your entire document like I'm doing at my own hand. You can just comment it out and write underneath it so that you can go back to your file and read through at your convenience time. So once you can comment out with control KC, and when you want to like on comments, so you can use your control KU. It's on comments as well. So it's a shortcut for you. Control KC, control plus K plus C to comment, control plus K plus U to uncomment. So let's console.log name console.log h console.log is Christian, console.log is Muslim, console.log salary. All right, so if we save this, you can see the results right there on our browser, on the browser. So you should be getting the same response as well. If you're not getting the same response, please let us know. So yes, Oluwaseun is asking if it applies to Mac as well. Yes, I believe so. It applies to Mac as well. So just go with your command KC. Yeah, the command key plus KC should work as well. All right. So we have this as that shows you that you can see the values of the variables that you've created. So now in order for you when you want to like check when you want to check the type of a particular when you want to check the type of a particular variable in JavaScript. So we have a function that helps us do that, which is type of. So just give it type of. You can wrap type of around the variable like this. So just type of. Then you can put the variable name in between it. Name in this case. So we are putting all of this inside of our console.log. So that is what we're doing. So this age, you can just do it like this age, comma, type of, and you put the age variable inside. It's Christian, type of, then you put is Christian right there in the middle. Is Muslim, type of is Muslim. So salary, type of salary. So so your file should look like this as well at the moment. So if you save, and you can see the same thing right here, like Olayiwola Ahmed, string, age 30, number is Christian, Boolean is Muslim, Boolean, and salary is no. doesn't exist, so it's an object type. So I I believe that that covers data types in JavaScript. So if you have any question, please feel free to just drop them as we proceed. All right. So moving on to okay, moving on. Strings. The strings are very like we work with strings a lot, and every one of us work with strings a lot because at the at the end of the day, like most of the text that we are communicating across, or like the values that we are communicating across, on the web, a lot of them are text based. So like this programming languages provides a good way provides a good way for us to like provides a good way for us to like manipulate the strings. Okay, so we'll be narrowing down on strings. But now you're on strings. Don't forget, you don't have to like delete yours like I'm doing on mine. You can just comment out and move scroll down and just right below it. But for me, I'll be removing it. So we're narrowing down on strings, strings and strings. Yeah. So now we have a string called sentence. Let's create const sentence. Sentence. Okay. Okay, that's a son. Okay. All right. Mine administrator. I'm not sure I'm correct, but okay, let's go with this. So this is what we have. Just to like reduce it, the string length. So presidential good initiative. All right. Let's go with this. Presidential good initiative. All right. So this is a string. When we console.log, we get this right here. You can see presidential gold initiative. All right. Now, JavaScript allows us to manipulate these strings. Okay. Don't forget, like whenever you see the double quotes or the single quotes, don't be confused. Like if you see some single quotes, it's the same thing. You get the same result. Okay. It can just be saying don't mind Visual Studio is the one doing all those silly manipulations, but single strings work as well. What I meant by that is you can, for example, if I copy this right into my browser, console.log, and I paste this there. Okay, so I get the same response. It doesn't matter if it's single or double quotes, but either of them works. So all you have to like make sure is that you are consistent. If you're using the single, you start with the single and end with the single. If you're using the double quotes, you start with the double and you end with the double. In a situation whereby you start with the single and you end with the double, you'll run into an error. So you can see that it's saying, invalid or unexpected token. So you have to be consistent. So if you're using single, you go with single, double, you go with double. All right. So moving on. Um, this JavaScript allows us to manipulate these strings via some functions, which which are called, the technical name is, the method. So we can say string methods. So these methods are like, functions that JavaScript already has inbuilt that allows us to manipulate. So sentence dot to uppercase. For example, if you are, passing that, you can see like at the browser, what it's showing to us is, Presidential Good Initiative in capital letter. Okay. So had it been that was the case that we have here, that everything was also block letters, and would like to convert it to lowercase, to lowercase. Okay, so you also get something like this as well. So it allows for manipulation. So console.log to lowercase, console.log to uppercase. We have it there. So console.log to what other ones we have. Mm, So these ones are just basically, there really isn't any difference. It's just that there's this local. The way it works is that there are some possibly there's some regions. There's some regions of the world where there might be, a different kind of view to how this text are displayed at their own hand. So the browser or like JavaScript allows us to, display that text, that particular text in their own local way, where that browser is, the computer itself is located. So that's how that works. So we have those, and there are also other things that we can do to it. We can we can slice. Okay, but before we slice, let's go with substring. So substring is when we are trying to substring is when we're trying to break this sentence, presidential good initiative, into something else. So for example, if we have a start number of like 0 to like 10. Okay, sorry, there's an error there. So what is the error here? It tells us that we are missing a closing bracket. So that is the error. We're missing a closing bracket. So let's add it. And all right. So you can see right here that the substring, like we're trying to create a sub. We're trying to create a substring out of the main string, this sentence. So we're starting at position 0. I would like to explain this by going. Let me just use this to explain. Okay, so let's do it this way. P. Okay.
Um,
Okay. All right. So we're going with presidential. So the idea.
yes.
No, that wasn't what I was trying to do. I just focus. Okay. All right. So we have this there, and we have this at position 0. There, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So the way the counting system works in programming is that usually it begins at 0. Okay, so even though the length of this particular presidential, how do we calculate that? So let's create a string right here in the console. Let's say presidential, okay, dot length. So all these things that we're doing is these are, it allows for string manipulation. So presidential dot length, you can see it gives us the value of 12. Please try that at your own hand as well. You can use your name or anything. My name is Olamigoke. So Olamigoke dot length. So it gives me the length of that particular string. So all these things that we're using, dot length, dot to lowercase, to uppercase, substring, all of these things are provided, by JavaScript. It's all like they had, like it's not our own doing. It's all inbuilt into the system already. So now, even though the length of this particular string presidential is 12, these are the numbers of positions there. The numbers of positions right there ranges from 0 to 11. Okay, the element, the alphabet P rather is at position 0, R is at position 1, D is at position 5. This particular T is at position 8, L is at position 11. Okay, so this is how it works. All right, so that is why our substring, I was able to start at position 0. So some of us might be wondering, like, why is it, or why is starting at position 0? So to be able to properly show presidential now, using the breakdown that I said here, which means that position 0 to 11 is presidential. So if we can capture that, you can see, okay, presidential, it's presidential. We are still missing the L. I'm wondering, presidential. I believe the spelling is correct. What are we missing? Okay, this from 0 to 12, right? So 0 to 12 covers this presidential. That's like we are cutting out this particular string right from the middle one. So I believe I believe what is happening right here now is that president is like at position 10, I believe. So T is at position what? Okay, T is at position 8. So for us to like get president out of this presidential now, we have to like from 0 to 8 is what we are targeting our substring. But in order to effectively get out this president, we'll have to like add +1 to preferably we'll need to add +1. So that would be like 0 to 9 to get president out. So all right. So that is what we have here, president. And all of this, we are, getting it out of the, presidential goal initiative. So another thing that, string allows us to do is, we can split, uh, excuse me, please, sentence dot split. So if we sentence dot split now, you can see that we have um, a particular value in our console, which looks more like, some square brackets. So what is happening here is that the dot split, the string dot split allows us to break down like a particular string into like different parts, so thereby converting it into a list. Like these are a list of different parts. So in this case, now that we have presidential gold initiative, if we want to like break this particular sentence into different parts, okay, or separate them using their space, so you can split it using the space in between them. By space, I mean the space in between presidential and gold, the space in between gold and initiative. So if we pass sentence dot split, and we're passing the space in between, if we save that inside of our browser, you can see that there are three elements inside the list that was returned, which is presidential at position 0, gold at position 1, and initiative at position 2. So please, let's try that out. If you have any challenge, feel free to uh, drop your questions in the chat as well. I will respond to them as soon as I see them. So, Mr. Martins, are you with us? Martins. Okay, I'm not sure if he's here. Victory, are you there as well?
I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here.
All right, great. So, Israel, Loa Sheon, are you here?
Yes, I am. I am. I just did that.
All right, great. So, Brian as well, are you getting it? The two Emmanuels we have in class, hope we're all getting it.
Yeah, I'm getting mine.
All right, thank you. All right, what about George? George and Felix?
I'm struggling with it, but I'm
Yeah,
catching up.
yeah, I'm still trying to get my own too.
Okay, so please just, if you have any difficulties, feel free to post them and see. So who else is there? Okay, Dio.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Definitely.
all right, great. So you can, okay, let's move on, all right? So the split allows us to convert an entire string, like a string into like a different part, into a list now. So this list as well works the same way that I explained in this particular method. So if there are three items in the list, let's say we have a list of fruits. We have a fruits like you know mango, apple, cherry. So now, as we have these three items in the fruit, so we now what we're going to do is we have to like add this square bracket thing. That's what makes it a list. Okay, that's what makes it a list. The square brackets at the beginning and at the end. Don't forget that inside of these square brackets, each item in the list is a string on its own. Okay, it's a string on its own. However, like this, I'm talking about mango, apple, and cherry. Each item is a string on its own. But a list can accommodate, different data types. You can, add numbers, you can add, a Boolean variable, you can add, like anything you want to add. It accommodates like, different uh, various things right there. So now using this list of fruits with mango, apple, and cherry right there, mango here, mango here is going to be at position 0. While apple is going to be at position 1, and cherry is going to be at position 2. So even though the length of this fruit is 3, the position right there ranges from 0 to 2. So now let's try this out inside of Visual Studio Code. So let's see. Um, right. Okay, const fruits. Right. We have mango. We have mango. What else there? We had apple and cherry. So now, right here, okay, what we call, this is an array, okay? Like this fruit right here is a list that contains, mango, apple, and cherry. But inside of JavaScript, we don't, like the name we call it is more like an array, like stacked upon one another. Just look at, just see it like that. All right. So just sit like this. This is what we are visualizing, or what this mango and apple and all of these things are all about. So now this mango is the first item in the array. Okay. The reason why I'm using list is like, we are more familiar with lists than array, but like the name in JavaScript is an array. Okay. So like, mango is the first item in the list. So mango is like the guy, this red book right here. Okay. So we have the apple. The apple is like the brown book, while the cherry is like the green book. Okay. So when you want to like add um, another element to the array, now you place it on top of it. Okay, that is like the default way of putting it there. So let's go back to our page here. Let's console.log fruits. Then we get this. You get something like this. Mango at position 0, apple at position 1, cherry at position 2. All right. So now this array is one of the ways in which data types, we talked about data types earlier, the strings, the numbers, the booleans, the null, the undefined, etc., etc., all of those things. Like when you are grouping them together, okay, when you are grouping these numbers together, an array, okay, is one of the ways in which you can, collect this data together as one type. Okay. So like when you're collecting this, group of, various data together as one type, we don't call them data type now. Like, technically we call them a structure. Okay. We call it a structure. So an array, okay, is a data structure, all right, that contains, various, um, elements, all right. So this array is ordered. Okay, what I mean by ordered is like it has a position. you can arrange it. You can, like this example that we have here, the mango, the apple, the cherry. The mango is at position 0, the apple is at position 1, and the cherry is at position 2. So it's ordered. Okay, so if you are trying, if we want to like add more to these fruits now, this is, we've created a list: mango, apple, and cherry. If you want to add to the fruits array, you can call the fruits, okay, dot push, okay, and let's say pineapple. All right. If you save and we console and log the new fruits, you can see that the outcome is mango, apple, cherry, and pineapple. The pineapple being at position 3. So now, um, there are different ways in which we can manipulate an array. All right. And one of them is by, this line 4 right here, fruits.push, the pineapple. Another way, what we can do is, like, for example, you want to, like, using the book instance right here. The red book is the mango, the pine, the apple is the brown, cherry is the green, white, this light, whatever color this is the pineapple. So now there are times where you want to like add to the array, but you don't want that particular item that you're adding to that array to take the last position. Because normally now, the way it is, pineapple will be at position 4, position 3 rather. Okay, the length of the array is 4, but the positions available will range from position 0 through 3. So now, when you want to like add an element to the array, but you don't want it to be the last element. Maybe you want to like position it at the first position right there. So what you would do is you call the fruits, okay, dot on shift. All right. And right here we'll pass in, which fruit can we pass right there? Uh, what is this? Where are all the fruits in the world? Carrot. All right. So if we save this, um, if we save this, you would notice that carrot happen to be the guy at position 0, mango is the guy at position 1, apple at position 2, cherry at position 3, and the last guy, pineapple, at position 4. So what we did on looking at our Visual Studio now code is that at line 3, we created a variable name called fruits. So that particular fruit, we assigned an array to it. And how do we recognize an array? We recognize an array with the square brackets. Don't forget the square brackets. This one right here. Okay, the square brackets. That is how we denote an array in JavaScript. So inside of this array, we have elements like mango, which is a string. Apple is a string. Cherry is a string. But collectively together, inside the square bracket, you call them an array. So at line 4, on line 4, fruits.push, the pineapple, what we did here is that push, okay, is a method of an array. That one comes from JavaScript. Just like, earlier where I mentioned this sentence dots, to uppercase to lowercase, dot split, etc. All of those ones are string methods. Okay, JavaScript provides that for us to manipulate strings. Just like we can manipulate strings, an array as well can be manipulated. So one of the ways in which we manipulated the array that we created on line 3 is on line 4 and 5. Line 4, we pushed pineapple to the array. Okay, so that pineapple took the position after the cherry. However, on line 5, we do not want, because the default way in which we can add to a list is that the item we are adding to that list goes to the back. It becomes, the way this stuff works, the first in is the last out kind of a situation. Okay, the first in, last out. So, but on shift does something different. On shift moves everything and stays at position 1, at position 0 rather. It becomes the first element in that, it becomes the first element in the array. Okay, so that is what is happening there. By adding the carrots, we make carrots the elements in the first position. So now there are also other array methods that we can use. So we have which other one do we have right there? We have fruits. So by default, let me just manually change this list. Let me add carrots. Yeah. Okay. Carrots. Pineapple. So I'm deleting this. So now, if I want to access the element at position 0, now console.log fruits, if you want to access the element now, what we'll do is that we'll pass in the ID of that particular element. You can see that carrot is at position 0, mango is at position 1, pineapple at position 4. Now, if I pass this way, give me the element at position 3. If I save this, you will see that it returns the item at position 3. And how does that work? Carrot 0, mango 1, apple 2, cherry 3. Okay, give me the element at position 0, it returns carrot. Give me the element at position 4, it returns pineapple. However, if I pass in something like give me the element at position 10, that does not exist, we get something undefined. Are we together? So now, the reason why okay, I'm reading Mr. Israel's response right now. So, all right. So, Mr. Israel is of the opinion that we are moving too fast. I don't know if anyone in the class also has that particular view, but this video as well will be made available to us as well. This video will be made available, and on a side note, one thing I would like to that I would say now, and I also love to mention over and over again over the course of the program is that it's not just enough as in for us to just go over just for us to just watch the lectures alone. Like even though the lectures were made available to us, like it's not just enough for us to watch lectures alone. Like the little things that we've learned, let's just make sure we go over them, like practicalize them in your own way, like in your own personal way. Just like we're using fruits now, carrot, mango, apple, whatever. you can just choose to use like maybe the states, the various states in Nigeria. You just do something with it. It doesn't matter how little, yeah. Just make sure like you just do something out of your own personal, uh, should I say volition now? Like you just want to like do something that's different from what the tutor or the tutorial is about, and by doing so you are giving yourself an extra edge over persons that are just about the tutorial. And by going out there to just do things in your own way, you're going to like make mistakes that will prompt you to ask specific questions that will allow you to understand more about what is being done. Okay, so do not be scared if you don't get everything at once. Like it's all going to like be trial over and over, and everything that we're learning now, like we're going to make reference to it a lot, like a lot. We're going to like reference all these things a lot. So like they are, like what I'm just trying to say is like we'll be reaffirming the things that you already know, and the things that you don't know too well as well. You have avenue to like just get it over time. So don't feel like maybe you're not capable of coping with the class. You are, okay, and just be calm. All right. So I'll do well to provide this video as well at the end of the class. So going on. You can access the position of these various elements right there in the pineapple, or like sorry, and the fruits rather. So console.log, the fruits as position 10 gives us undefined. So now for you to like know the numbers of elements right there, you can run console.log fruits.length. It will give you the numbers of elements right there in the array, which is 5 elements. And like I said, if there are 5 elements in any data type or structure, just know that the numbers of position right there is going to be the length minus 1. So the length of this fruit is 5, means that there are 5. And the length of this fruit is 5, means that there are 5 elements inside the fruit. Okay. So now the numbers of positions of our element here, I don't know if you guys understand Yoruba, will range from position 0 to 4, not 5. There are 5 elements right there, but the positions will range from 0 to 4. So don't make the mistake of there are 5 elements there, so that means that position 5 is available. No. The positions available is length minus 1. All right. So now, moving on. You can also remove items from the array. So you can do that by fruits.pop. So pop removes the last element, okay? And if we console.log fruits here now, you see that the last elements will be missing. So if we save, you can see that we have carrot, mango, apple, and cherry, whereas pineapple is missing. The reason is because we already removed or popped out pineapple. So that is fruits.pop for us. And then another thing that you can do in this case is that you can also figure out the index. So let's say you have the name of a particular element, which is apple, for example. Now you want to find the position of apple in fruit. You can call fruit.index of, and you pass the name of that element right there. So it returns for us the position. So you can see 0, 1, 2. Apple is at position 2 in the array called fruits. So yeah, so there is that. So we can move on. We can move on from array. Let's move to objects, object and yeah, object and JSON. So regarding list, if you have any question, please feel free to push them to the chat as well. So I will address them your your questions. So object and JSON is also another data structure that we have in JavaScript. So just like list is the square brackets, objects in JavaScript are curly braces. Okay, the curly braces. These are ways to represent uh, objects. So now the way this stuff works is that you can have an object inside a list. You can have a list inside an object. Okay, it works either ways. All right, but you can't have an object inside a string. It wouldn't work that way, and you know that wouldn't make any sense. So now let's create our first object. Let's assign let's create a variable called user. We're creating a variable called user and we're making it an object. Like I said, the object is curly braces. So now inside the object it's better to have it here. So the object contains a key value pair. All right. The object contains a key value pair. What I mean by that is like state and capital, kind of a thing like that. Abia, Kumaya, kind of a thing. So there needs to be a key and there needs to be the value. All right. So now, in a case whereby we're trying to create an object, that object is going to have properties. Okay. So let's say we have an object of table. Okay. This object of table, we're trying to like maybe create it in JavaScript now. This is just a rough note. So this table is going to have legs. Yeah. So these legs, we're going to have legs, and the legs is 4, right? For instance, so legs is 4. Like what else do we have? The surface. Maybe the surface is flat or round or whatever it is. It's going to be there. So now this is a property of this table. So these legs now will be the key. Why 4 is the value. Surface is the key. Flat is the value. Okay. So to implement that in this scenario, we have a const of user. So now let's give it a name of Olayiwola Ahmed. Actually, I don't know anyone who's been Olayiwola Ahmed, but the name has just been my sample name for almost anything. So I don't know if there's anyone that bears that name here, but I do not know any Olayiwola Ahmed. It's just a sample name. So Olayiwola Ahmed, we have his age. Age is 10, and occupation doctor. Oh well, that would be hard to like really exist. 10-year-old doctor. I wouldn't allow such operate on me. But yeah, this is just for test purposes. Yeah. So now this particular variable has been created user. So if we console.log user. You can see we have it right there in the browser. We have an object with age 10, name Olaiwola Ahmed, occupation doctor. So for some of us that are, like I've worked with other programming languages, you know, over there you might be mandated to like provide maybe strings, as in make sure that your key and as in quotes. So yeah, but it's in JavaScript. It's actually not very necessary. Okay, to make sure that you had quotes to your key. Okay, except in the situations whereby the key itself is maybe it has a space inside. But normally, like in programming, your naming convention should change. So when let's say let's change this to 30. Let's change this to programmer. Um, okay, ever been to military? All right. So this wouldn't make sense as a key now. And you're now saying yes here. This wouldn't make sense. You run into an error here. Okay, unexpected identifier. So what would make sense here is for you to wrap this. It's for you to wrap this in a string. All right. Ever been to military? Then you have something like that. Yeah. So it works. But then in if I ever say something like this, it's in JavaScript, it can bother, like it can make you wonder if this person really, why is this person naming the key like this? It wouldn't make sense. Okay, so like in programming generally, the way in which you name your variables should be like it should be concise. Okay, like as much as you are trying to make it precise in nature, like it should as well be concise. Like it should be compact too. So if you find yourself in a position whereby you want to like name the name is long and you think you want to like it makes sense for you to add space in between it, instead of adding space you can use like a camel case. What I mean that you can use military service, something like this. So where instead of adding space in between it, you made it a camel case such that the S, which is the beginning of the second word, is made a capital letter. Okay, so it's more like the conventional way of naming variables in JavaScript. So so yeah, moving on. So like I said earlier, a list a list can a list can be inside a list can be inside an object can be inside a list. So okay, let's use active years. Now let's give it a list right here. Let's say 2014, 2015, 2016, 2020. All right. So now if we save this now, we have something like this right there. Like Olaiwola Ahmed is active years at this blah 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 like that. So this is an object that explains a particular user. So now I'll be creating a list of users, not just a particular. This is one user now, but I want to create a list of users. So how do we do that? We do that by I'll be converting this to a user list. Okay, so don't worry. I will share this over the chat as well, so that everyone has the same copy. So now, user list. What happened here? I wrapped that particular object inside a list. So if you check user list now, dot length, we'll get 1 because there's just one item inside of it. Even though we have name, age, occupation, military service, active years inside of the first element, okay, it won't count as, let's say 5 elements inside. No, it will still count as 1 because that one element, okay, is an object. So now let's add another one. Okay. Let's say, I don't know. I'm not so good with picking up or Jane. Try 9. Let's call this one on the cover. Yes, and years would be now 16, 17, 18, and 19. All right. So let's have another one. Let's do this some more. Try the two educator. No. Let's just go with just 1 year for this person. Let's add another one. Um, from someone. Okay, 33. Let's go with the same details for this person. Okay, let's try another one as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's add another one again. Let's just make it 6. I'm a junior. Okay, let's make this one 18. Programmer, yes. All right. No. All right. So now, if you check now, our user list dot length 6. So now, if we console.log this, would get so as you can see the various elements right there in the browser. Right there in the browser. So before we move on, I would actually like someone to, explain, just the difference between the list and the object, just to like be certain before I move on to. So like Mr. Emmanuel Ipe, I'm not sure if I got the spelling. Can you please give us your clear, difference or what you understand by, the list and the object itself? Emmanuel? Okay, it seems Emmanuel is not available. Okay, what about Oluwaseun?
Hello, could you come again with the question?
Okay, like just give us your your explanation. We'd like to see your screen as well. Like a
Okay, my
list,
screen.
yeah, a list versus an object. Just give us an explanation of what you get from that.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, for me, I think an object, a list comprises of, so I don't know if I'm correct. The list comprises of several objects, while an object is an individual, it's on its own, whereby but when you have additional a couple of objects linking up together, that forms a list.
So yeah, you're correct, but partially. What I mean, why I would say partially is because a list does not necessarily contain objects. It can contain strings, numbers,
Strings.
yes,
Okay.
anything, any data
Yeah.
type can be collected together. So it's just like a collection of data. Okay. So that is what I mean, what I'm trying to say. So as against, like, can I see your screen, like share your own screen itself, not just to see your work, what you're doing.
No, I'm trying to showcase. Let me share my host is able
Mr.
to attend this
Yeah,
sharing.
Mr. Victory, please, can you prepare so that you go next after Oluwaseun?
The host, I think I've got this message. The host disabled to attend this screen sharing.
Okay, so
So I think that's from the end of Mr. Bayode.
so can you try sharing again just to see which works?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
So, my screen now.
All right.
This is my work. What I've been doing.
Okay. All right. So that's fine. I'll just post this user list into the group so that everyone can have a copy of it. So I'm doing that now. So you can just copy that. Uh, I will post it on the Slack channel as well for anyone that has a quick access to Slack. So I posted it to the Slack channel as well. So if you can copy that. So please, so that we all have the same copy. All right. So thank you. Um, Victory.
I'm with you. Sorry, I usually on mute. I usually mute rather.
Yes. So please give us like your understanding of your list versus that of an object, and just shows your screen to see what you're doing as well.
I might not be able, sorry, I might not be able to show you my screen because I'm not close to my desktop. I'm taking notes down, just like yesterday. I do them afterwards. Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay. So
Yeah.
give us your understanding of a list versus that of an object.
To the best of my knowledge, I think lists, just like the word lists, I think it helps us. How do I call it now? Make a variety or a list, like the word list of what we want. Why object helps us to collect data, collection of data, and all of that, arrays.
Okay. All right. So who else would like to speak? Thank you. Thank you. Is anyone else in the class? All right. So I haven't heard from Belua Kindele. Can you please speak up so that I can hear from
Sorry,
you? All right.
sorry. It's pronounced Beulah.
Okay, Bula. Beulah, yeah?
Beulah, yes.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you. So can you tell us the difference between an array and an object? Just before we move on.
Okay. In my own words, I see an array is a list of data. An array can be a list of data of different types. So it can be a list of integers, strings, or even other arrays.
Mm-hmm.
While an
Mm-hmm.
object is a collection of data. And I say the difference between a list and an array is in the referencing. Sorry, between an object and an array is in the referencing, because with an object, you can use dot notation to reference stuff that's stored in it, while in a list you have to use, like, you have to index through it.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. That's correct. That's correct. So all right. Thank you. Thank you. So all right. Moving on. I'll be sharing my screen once again. Uh, so someone is asking, can an array be objects? So both are actually two distinct data types that we have. Like the array is quite different. The array is quite different from the object, and that is exactly what the question is about. So now, for an array, like Beulah said just now, like if you want to access the, let me just make a quick one here. Again, let me say names. So we have Beulah. Am I correct with that spelling? Beulah. Okay.
Yes.
Um, Martins. Dio. So all right, let's go. So now, this is a list right here, 3 items in the list. So if I want to access this names, if I pass in the element at position 0, I get Beulah. At position 1, I get Martins. All right. So, however, on the object level, it's a completely different game. Okay, where I have, let me clear this up. This user. Okay, so now for this user, I can access the attributes. If I pass user.name, you can see I'm getting Uche Uche. If I want to get, if this person, the occupation for this guy, I get the programmer. So the way in which we can access the data stored in the objects is different from that of the list. Okay, and another key difference is there is that an object is a key value pair. Okay, whereas an array is just the values themselves alone. Okay, a list is ordered. That means like they have a position, okay, and you can order them. Whereas an object doesn't have that. Okay, an object just contains the data. It doesn't have, a position this or a position there. They're just, like there. So those are like, key differences right there. So moving on from there. So we have this. There are ways in which we can go through elements inside of an object. Okay, like Obera said, inside of an array rather. So in this situation, please everyone should copy the because I sent. Okay, Mr. Felix Banjo, I hope I answered your question. So if you have any other challenge, please feel free to drop your questions right there. So please copy the this particular list that I sent, this user list. Please, everyone should have it because we'll be using it like just to experiment in this class. All right. So now we have uh, this list right here that contains 6 items. 6 items. So there are ways in which we can go through them. And in this way, in this instance, they are called or better still to iterate through them. Um, iterate through them. So, and the ways in which we iterate through them is through certain tools. Certain tools like they are called these array methods. Array methods that allow us to like iterate through a particular array. But before we go into this iteration, there is something that I would like to show us because it's dependent on that. The iteration is through repetition, and repetition in programming is achieved, largely through these for loops. So like for loop is like a very important ingredient in iteration or reiteration, depending on how we go about it. So I would like us to comment out this part for a moment. So Control K C to comment out so that we can.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, you said we should copy the user list is saying. Is it on the Slack channel?
I posted it on the Slack channel. I posted it on the Zoom chat as well. Both of the places.
Oh, like, let me check the Slack. Couldn't find it on the Zoom chat. Okay. I got it now.
All right. So this is how a for loop works in JavaScript. And what is a for loop? A for loop is just like this particular guy. I hope my method of explanation works because I use guy a lot. This particular guy that allows you as a programmer to do some task repetitively without you having to type that code over and over again. Like the same function that you're trying to like perform on one item, you want to do it, let's say, on multiple items, but you don't want to like repeat yourself over time. So you can use a for loop to capture this particular function that you're trying to perform or task you're trying to perform, and it saves you that repetitive typing. So the way a for loop is structured is first, it contains 3 items. Uh, one is a variable. Okay, one is a variable. Two is the condition statement, and 3 is the increment factor, like I was trying to say conditional and incremental factor right there. So now the variable, well, so just pay attention right here, because the for loop is tricky and it's also very useful as well at the same time. So it's important that you understand the way a for loop works. So now this for loop, let's declare a variable. Let's say let hi. In this case, I is just a variable name. It can be let value, okay? But values can be too long at times to write. That's just why you see let hi. Okay, so we've created hi. And let's assign a value to it. I is equals to 0. Okay, semicolon. I, the conditional statement, is less than 11. Let's say I is less than or equals to 10. Okay, that's the conditional statement. Conditional statement upon which the for loop is going to function. Okay, yes. In that case, the increment factor, then I, increase I in value so that it can change. Because initially we said I, the variable is equals to 0. So when I is less than or equals to 10, keep on increasing the value of I until it reaches this 10 that was stipulated here. So right inside this for loop now, we want to say console.log the value of I is, let's pass the value of I here. Okay. All right, let's save this. And right there in your browser, you should see the value of I 0 down to 10. If anyone is getting something different from that, let me know. So just to bring back our fruits, we have carrot, we have mango, we have apple, we have cherry, we have pineapple. All right. Does this make sense to us? Now, please pay attention. If you have any concern, don't forget, I'm here. So you can also raise your hand and speak so that we can all hear your question. So now, fruits, we want to look through the items in fruits, okay? Then we say that let I be equals to 0, okay? If the value of I is less than or equals to, whereas in this case, less than the length of fruits, okay? Fruits, okay, const fruits. If I is less than fruits dot length, okay, keep on increasing the value of I. All right. So right there, console.log fruits, okay, then we're accessing the index or the value at that particular position, I. If we save this, we'll get something like this: carrots, mango, apple, cherry, pineapple. Okay. So now what we are doing here is that we are iterating through a list. We are getting the various elements inside of that list through their index. This is the line that we are using to log the particular fruit. And how do we get the index? This is how we get the index. At this point, keep on increasing the value of I in as much as I is less than the length of fruit. So now, this is the traditional way to loop through anything in JavaScript. This is the traditional way, okay? But over time, like this way can just be, you know, cumbersome at time where you have to like, you know, create a lot of for let's I, let's J, let's K, IJK, whatever. For those people that did vectors, you know the troubles with vector I, J, and K directions. It can be somehow. So like better ways were devised. Okay, of course you will still need the for loops in your program. Okay, but better ways were derived to, you know, access values in an array. Okay, so these methods are called high order array methods. Array methods. High order array methods. So these high order array methods, we have 3 of them. Okay, which is for each. We have for each. We have map, and we have filter. So for each, map and filter performs the same function as a for loop, but just that they had extra source to the game. Or let me just say it like that. Like they come with, you know, extra functions that, you know, makes the work easier. So now for each just loops through the, you know, for each just loops through the array. So now let's say fruits dot for each. Okay, so now inside of this for each we pass in a function. I'm still going to talk about what a function is over time. So we pass in a function. So now don't worry, I'm going to explain what that function is over time, but just take it like I said it for now. Okay, so we're going to pass in a function inside of the fruits, and what we want to do here is fruits the item. So let's console.log this particular item. Let's save it. So as you can see, we got the same result. Okay, so what we did here is that fruits, okay, using the for each. This for each, what is for each does? For each is just very similar to the for loop that we just used just now. In fact, it's the same. Okay, it's just like exactly the same as this silly for loop that we wrote here, but it's not silly in a normal context of silly, but yeah. So the map, on the other hand, is like a for loop, but it adds the fact that you can, instead of, you know, using this existing list, it creates another list for you. Okay, so it creates a new list, whereas filter also creates a new list, but allows you to pass a particular condition. upon which that list will be created. Okay, so what do I mean again? The forEach works like the normal for loop that we used just now. Okay, then the map I order array method allows you to loop through that particular list or that array, but it creates another one. Okay, why filter creates another list, but you have a control over the type of data that that list is going to contain. Okay, unlike map you don't have control over. It just creates, just gathers everything together. But filter, you can specify a condition. So this is what happens. Console.log, let's say the fruit, just to make it more beautiful, the fruit is, so we get it, the fruit is carrot, mango, apple, cherry, pineapple, blah, blah. All right. So now let's try map fruit. Okay. So now that instead of trying map and filter on fruit, it's best we can now go back to this our user list that we created, so that we can effectively use map and filter, because map and filter really doesn't provide us there's no real use case for this fruits right here. So just know that for each is like a better way of writing or creating your for loop. Okay, why map and filter, I will explain it in a bit. So if you have any question regarding for each and for loop right now, please do, so that we can go over them again. So okay, so we are back to user list. Okay, Oluwashim is raising up his hand. Can you please? Okay. Can I repeat? All right. All right. So it seems that we have a good number of persons right there that are not getting. Okay, let's do it this way. I I happen to be a Arsenal football fan, so I'm going to use Arsenal players in this context. All right. So if you have any problem about, we played a match yesterday. If you have any problem about us winning the match, you can feel free to just give me a direct message after the class. All right. So, but I'm going to create a list of football players that we have in our team, just like a very brief one. So let's create one. We have a const. Yeah, let's say Arsenal. So now we are trying to create a list, and we have Aubameyang right here. So we have like a Z there. So we have Daniel Ceballos. Okay. So we have Luis. We have Mustafi. Okay, and let me have the goalkeeper, Martinez. All right. So right here now. Okay, sorry. All right. Where is the error coming from? Oh, okay. Right. All right. So Arsenal, this is Arsenal at the moment. 6 elements are in Arsenal. Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ceballos, Luis, Mustafi, and Martinez. All right. So now, if I want to look through this particular list, I can do it traditionally using the for loop. Okay. So, but before I do a traditional for loop, I need to ascertain the length of, I need to know the length of the the length of the list. Otherwise, my code is going to run into an error. So the traditional way is for, okay, for, we have to create a variable first. Let's say for, then let, okay, player, um, player index, okay, let player index, okay, be equals to 0. All right, let player index be equals to 0. So then we create the conditional statement, okay. If player, you know, if player index, all right, is less than, okay, the length of the Arsenal team that I wrote here, which is 6 of them, okay. If player index is less than Arsenal.length, don't forget that Arsenal.length is 6, yeah? So now, do something for me. Increase the player's index value that we already, so player index, okay, is equals to what? Okay, I made a mistake here. Instead of the comma, it should be semicolon. Yes, thank you. So player index, if it's less than Arsenal.length, so do something. Player index, increase that player index value for me. All right. So then we have the curly braces, open it. All right. So now do something. Console.log. So console.log, console.log. Then now we are referencing Arsenal here. Arsenal, okay, and we are passing the index. That player index, we are passing it to Arsenal here. So pass player index inside, okay? You know how it works. If we pass Arsenal, player index into Arsenal, for example, 0, it's going to give us Aubameyang. 1 is going to give us Lacazette, okay? But we don't want to be pressing console.log player and Arsenal 0, Arsenal 1. So we just write a for loop that just does the whole thing for us. Okay, so console.log Arsenal, then imputing the player index in between. Don't forget that the player index right here will be increasing. Okay, once it runs it the first time, you know, player index equals to 0, it runs it. It's less than 6. Okay, so it increases to 1. Okay, it's less than 6. It's less than 6, so it goes to 2. It's less than 6. Okay, Victory is also raising up his hand. Can you please speak up?
Some of us don't watch football. What are you trying to do? Like, what is this particular action for?
Okay, this list I'm creating, even though the names I'm mentioning are related to football, it has nothing on football. Okay, like these are just regular names like people. I could have used Bayo, Uchemba, like Juice and all of those. Adekunle, it's work. These are just people's name. Yeah, I created a list of people's name: Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ceballos, Lewis, Mustafi, and Martinez. All right, and I'm trying to iterate through this list. Okay, I'm trying to get the values inside of this list. So that is what I'm doing, and I'm doing that using a for loop. So now console.log Arsenal, and I'm plugging in the player index into the
list.
yes, into the list. Thank you. So now console.log this particular person is an okay Arsenal FC player. All right. So then let's close it. So now we've opened that curly braces there. Or we must close it as well at the end here. So if we run it, Okay, then we get a result like this. Aubameyang is an Arsenal FC player, same from Lacazette, Ceballos, Lewis, Mustafi, and Martinez. Had it been we didn't use a for loop, we would have to like console log this for every one of them. Okay, we have to like repetitively do this at 5 times. But because of the for loop, we're able to achieve this without writing the same thing 5 times over.
I think that's fine.
Okay, so now as a quick class test for us, okay, let's write a list. Okay, let's write a list of 6 people like this. It doesn't have to be the same list that I've done, and you run or you create a for loop to show let's say Adebayo is my friend, or like just do it like that. Just get the names of those 6 people, then you can console .log like this. But I'm using is an Arsenal player here, but you can use like is my friend at your own hand. So please, like let everyone try it out right now. Even if you don't have your PC with you, try it out on a paper and let's say just write it out in your own way. You don't have to use my own variable names. You can use your own variable names. Okay, I use player index here. You can use your own variable name at your own hand. So please let everyone try it now. Oluwaseun, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. So please let everyone try it now. Dayo, how is it going?
I think
All right. Thank you. Martins as well. How's it going?
Okay, it's a whole lot. I'm trying to look at it over and over, trying to, well, go over. But maybe when I go through the notes after the class, it's going to make more sense.
All right. All right. So that will definitely work as well. That will work as well. So going over it is also key. It's key. It's true. So, but please let's try this. Let's try this and give me updates now. So I'm directing that to Martins. So please try it now and give me an update. Just create that list of like 6 people that you know, and just manipulate it like this. So and so is my friend, or whatever text that you feel like goes along with what you're trying to do. I just want every one of us to try out that for loop.
Hello, sir. I didn't get you.
Okay, Emmanuel, I want you to
Yes,
create
sir.
a list of
Okay.
that contains 6 names. All right.
Okay.
So now, then after creating the list, I want you to write a for loop.
Okay.
Okay, that goes through this list that you've created, then that displays it such as like, let's say one of the names on the list is Uche. So now Uche
Okay.
is my friend. Okay, something like
Okay,
that.
sir.
Then yeah, like that for every
So
name in the list.
if I'm done, I'll paste it on the chat.
No, I just want to like get it from you that you've done it. That is what
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
the affirmation.
Okay.
So I'll give us 5 minutes more for that. So by in 5 minutes time, if you have any challenge, please just post that on the channel. All right, great. I got done from Dial. Great. So just comment done once you have it. All right. So I just got done from Emmanuel as well. So please, Brian, Martin, Victoria as well. Okay, great. Okay, good, good. Okay, 2 more minutes to go. Okay, 1 more minute to go. Okay, okay, let's continue. All right. So going back to what we have. going back to what we have here, our our user list. So now, if we go over our user list dot for each, okay, so pass in our function. Don't worry, I said this function, I'm going to explain how it works later. So for each is a different or more simpler way of writing the for loop that we've just written now. So for each just, makes it easier. So all we need to do in the for each is just to pass the name of that particular um, the variable name that we would like it to bear. Okay, the each item in that list, what we want it to bear, the variable name. So in this case, since this list contains objects, so let's call it function user, and we want to like console.log console.log user dot name. Okay, so let's remove this. So if we save this now, this is what we'll get. You can see Olaiwola Ahmed, and the other names right there. So we should all get the same result as this as well. So this user right here will represent each instance in this list. This list, don't forget, contains 6 items. So using our for loop, that for loop will represent each of these item in the list at a particular time. So we are now telling the system to log to us the name of that particular user at every time. So even if we're getting the user name, then user.age as well, we can get it. You can see Olayiwola Ahmed 30, Ibiabo, James, Adeoti Samuel, Bertram, Sambanan 33, and like that. So that is the for each right there. Okay, so now is user list dot map. All right. So like I indicated earlier, that the for each works similarly like the normal for loop that I gave us as a test just now. However, for the map creates a new list. Okay, the map, don't forget, the map creates a new list. So this list is what we're trying to like return. Okay, so now map, all right, also takes a function. All right, okay, so inside this function, let's pass user right there. So now inside this, that we want to return um, user dot name. Okay, so now let's assign this entire thing that we're doing here, all of the things we're doing here, let's assign it to a variable. Let's call it const user names. Okay, so this is what we're doing here. Then let's console.log user names, and we get this. So we get a new list entirely. This list is different from them. So even though we have the user names here, we can still console.log the old list, which is the user list, and we still get everything. So you can see we have this 6 and we have this 6 right here. So the user name is a derivative of the user list. So please try this out at your own hand as well. If you have any challenge, let me know so that I can, go over the things I've said. All right. Okay. So let's go on to try. Let's comment this out. The user list. User list. Now we are calling filter. Okay, filter. Filter also takes in a function. All of these things that takes in a function, you know what we call them? We call them high order, function. So high order methods, or because it's particular to an array, we're calling them high order array methods. So this takes in user as well. So the difference here is just that, like I said, filter creates a new list, but based on a condition. All right. So user list.filter, we want to return let's say age, based on a condition. Age is greater than, we have 38, 18, 22. Okay, let's go with age is less than 30. So if the age is less than 30, yeah, return for us. So in this case, that is the condition that we're using to filter this this list. So let's say const, let's say streamlined user list. Okay, so let's save. Oh, okay, sorry. User.age console.log streamlined user list. And so you can see we get a new list. We get a new list of 3 guys right here who are younger than 30. Who are younger than 30. So each of these 3 has different use cases. The forEach, the map, and the filter. Their use cases are completely different, but they are all for looping or iterating through a given list. So the forEach works like a regular for loop, just for you to like go through the list generally. The map is used for creating like a new list out of an existing list. Let's say you want to create a different list based on the data available on the main list, then you can use a map. But filter is used when you have a conditional barrier in between. Like let's say you want to, it could be like a student in a class, like let's say in a lecture room now, like maybe test scores are being delivered to students, and you want to like filter based on scores. Like students that score less than 50 should be categorized into this particular group. Students that score above 70 should be categorized in this particular group. So like all of these methods have their use cases and are very different. So these are high order array methods. So anyone have any question in this regards before we move on? Okay, from okay, Mr. Emmanuel posted something on the group just now. Like the for each doesn't return uh, any value. Yes, the for each doesn't return any value. It just works like through, doesn't return a new list. Better. That would be the better way to describe it. The for each doesn't return a new list. Okay, it just works based on the existing list. Whereas map and filter returns a new list. So does that answer your question, Emmanuel? All right, thank you. Thank you. So do we have any other question in the house before we proceed? Don't forget, don't panic. The video will be made available as well, so that for people that want to like go over the video uh, at their leisure or like at the other free times, it will also be made available. Okay. I'm commenting this out now, just like I said earlier. So let's move on to conditional statements. So in this conditional statement, we'll be covering things like, if, else, else if, you know, switch operator. So moving on, let's be sure there is no person. All right. So moving on, conditional statements are statements that dictate pathways for your program, like or better still, that that helps guide your program on which way to go, depending on the various parameters that you've set. So, for instance, let's say you're trying to calculate the area of a, looking for a more appropriate solution or description. Okay, let's say you're trying to aggregate the score of a particular student. So the and you want to like decide based on the score that the students have. So if this, let's say if the student scores above 50, you want to like give them or record a pass for them. Or if the student scores above or below 50, you want to like do something as well. So these conditional statements can guide your program on where to go. What I mean by that is you can do something like this, where we're saying, let's say if the student scores above 50, let's say the test total is 100. So if the student scores above 50, student passes. Okay. If the student scores below 50, student fails. So in this case, there's no need for you to write if the student scores below 50 again. Okay. Because the reason is because both of them are mutually exclusive. What I mean by mutually exclusive is that a student cannot score below 50 and above 50 at the same time. One of them needs to happen. Okay? One of them needs to happen. So instead of writing this over, we can just represent that by writing an else. Else, it means the student failed. Okay, so let's implement that. All right, so let's create let's create uh, let's create a new list. Student scores. Name of students. Are they score? All right, let's go with this. Okay, hold on a second. All right, so okay, so this is a new list that we have. Okay, that contains these scores. Now, student scores. So you can just create a random list for yourself as well. It's fine. You don't have to like follow this through, but let me just copy this so that everyone can have it. So that everyone can have a copy. Okay, so I'm posting it on the chats, on the Slack chat, as well as the Slack channel, on the Zoom chat. I mean, apologies. Okay, so now let's iterate through the student score dot map, this case. So let's pass in this uh, thing called function there. Now let's call it students. Okay. So what we want to do here, this is how the if works. if students dot score, okay, if the students dot score now is greater than 50, do something for us, okay? Console.log something that the students for each will be the best right here. Console.log students dot name passes. Otherwise, which is else in this case, don't forget the curly braces, else console.log students dot name fails. So if we save this now and run it, you would see that will get something like this. Ade fails, Bulu passes, like that. So it's just to like you know, direct the paths of our program. Let's say we're trying to like make a decision. Okay, this if and else can allow us to like dictate what the system should do when that condition is met. If you got the same response like I did, can you please comment done on the chat so that I can know? If you have difficulties as well, can you please comment I have a problem? Okay, I've only gotten the done comment from 2% now. Okay, great. So I'm assuming everyone gets it correct. So writing the if else, this is the syntax. If you want to write if else, so if don't worry, this is just experimental. Your condition statements will be here. Your condition statement will be here. Your block of code here. All right. Then if you have else, this way, your other block of code here. So this is one way. You can also have it in such a way where you have multiple cases. All right. And this, you don't just have an else directly, you have an else if. Okay. Okay. You can also have multiple else if. Okay. Another else if possible. Then you can, close it with an else. Okay. So like somebody might, want to like ask, so what is the difference between if else and if else if? All right, thank you. I'm getting, more done from persons there. Okay, let me just hold on like 2 more minutes before I move on. Before I move on. Towards the end of the class, I would actually like someone to like, walk us through. I actually like someone to walk us through the, their own understanding of this um I order array methods. Like someone in the class that understands it, that can walk us through these I order array methods from their own hand. They can broadcast their own system to us and just give us their own is our own example, like and just teach us what to do. So who is going to volunteer to do that? Who's going to volunteer to, you know, teach us what he or she understands about these I order array methods? So it's fine to make mistakes. I'll be here as well to, like guide and just correct if anything needs to be done. All right. Emmanuel said hi. All right, great, great, great. Okay, Dayo as well said can try. That's fine. So yeah, we'll be going with Emmanuel and Dayo. So I'll save that. So by in 10 minutes time, or I'll call on both of you like one after the other to help us out. So I believe no one else is having a challenge regarding this if else that we are working on at the moment. So let's continue working on it. So yeah, this is the syntax for writing the if else. All right, like I was saying earlier, someone might, like then it begs the question, what is the difference between if else and if else if? So let me take us back into this particular thing that I wrote here. So the test total is 100. That is a given. All right. Yeah. So if the student scores above 50, the student passes. Else the student fails. Okay. So there are times whereby you feel like, okay, if the student pass, okay, then what else? Then there's, let's say there's grade A, there's grade B, there's grade C. Okay. So then we can go forward to say that now that the student has passed, okay, now that the student has passed, if the student, okay, scores, well, let's give this bold and let's make it green. The student passes and now the student fails. Let's make this red. Okay, so now if the student scores above 50, there are three criteria there. If the student scores above 70, okay, well, let's go with 80, okay. In this case, students passes with, distinction, or let's say with A grade, okay. If the student scores above 70, or let's say 65, student passes with, B grade, then else student passes with C grade. All right. So in this case, where we wrote if student scores above 80, then we wrote if student scores above 65 again. So there's one thing there about, the way the computers work. Like you can't score above 80 and score above 65 at the same time. All right. So like they're also mutually exclusive, but we also have other conditions. The student might also score below 65 as well. So now we're using, instead of writing if again, because once the student scores above 80, we wrote if the student scores above 65. That means the computer will also check, even though this student already scored above 80, we are still checking if the student scored above 65 again. Okay, so now for when our code is smaller, maybe when we're still writing few lines of code, it might not make a difference. But imagine when you are running through like maybe 5,000 lists, or like 10,000 or even 100,000 lists of students, you might discover that your program is beginning to like have some issues with speed, because you are checking for something that would never happen. If the score is above 80, it will never be below 65, like that. So now what you need to do is to prevent it from checking what would never happen, you just put an else here, else if. So now once the student's score is above 80, it won't bother to check for any other thing. It just gives the student a grade A. But if the student score is not above 80, then it checks the next one. Okay, then if that one doesn't happen, then it checks the next one. If that one doesn't happen again, then it checks the next one. That's what this gives us. If this condition is not met, it checks this one. If this isn't met, then it checks the next one. If the next one isn't met, then it checks the next one. But if we don't have this else right here, if it were just if, then it will check all of the statements for everything. So this wouldn't make any sense. To check if the score is above 80, we're checking if it's above 65. We are checking if it's above 50, and we're checking if it's above 20. Since we know that once the score is above 80, it's above 80, it's above every other value right there. So there's no point to check for everything. So just by adding the else if, it can help us to prevent that repetition from happening. So that is that about if else statements. So another one that I would like to show us before we move on to those explanations from others about the high order array methods is the switch statement. So this switch is a situation whereby it's a situation whereby you have, okay, let's say the color is, okay, sorry, const, I thought I was saying it regular, the color is equals to red, okay? So, and the color can be, red, can be red, green, yellow, okay? You will find this essentially very useful by the time we get to React. So, because you might wonder, so what's the difference between, what's the difference between, what's it called? Uh, Sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. What's the difference between switch? What's the difference between switch and the if else statement? So the difference largely is because that this switch is useful when you want to render. In my own case, when you want to render on some basis. So don't worry, I'm still going to explain what um rendering is, and that's by the time we get to um React Native. So now by using switch, we have our expression right there. So in this case, color. So we're passing in color right there. So now we are trying to switch on the basis of color. So what we now have inside switches are cases. So excuse me, please. So cases where the case is red, okay? What do we want to do when the case is red? So let's say, yeah, console.log color is red. So if the case is, green, console.log color is green. So and you can have your default, okay, that says things like console.log color is unknown. Yes, just right. So if we save something like this, okay. So for this regular, there should be a break there. Okay. So you might not find this very handy at the moment, but by the time we get to React, you'll find this very, very useful. So you can see that, in a case where this is green as well, I hope we're looking at the response right there. So you can see we get the color is green. So if it's red, you get the color is red as well. And if none of that happens, let's say it's yellow, you get the color is unknown. So it's these are cases where you know the things that you want to like do, like you have like a full grasp of the various dimensions in which your color can come or any data type that you're expecting. So let's say if that particular data you're expecting is positive, do this. If it's negative, do that. If it's not, then you can do the default something. So this is that on switch statement. I'm also going to be passing links to various articles, resources on the internet that can help us understand better on these various things that we've covered today in today's lecture. So I would like to call on Emmanuel to like go forward and share his own screen to tell us what he understands on the high order array methods that we covered today.
Okay, sir. Just trying to share my screen.
All right. Okay.
I may not talk on all of them, but
All right.
I'll talk on the forEach, the map, and lastly the filter.
Okay. Please go on. Thank you.
So I don't know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes, I can say it. Yes.
Okay. So from my screen here, I think the forEach is used to pass through or loop through, to go through one by one element in an array or list. That means you must have more than one element. You must have elements, not just a string, but a list, an array. So I would like to declare an array, a string. So I would like to declare a list. There is very small list known as PC type. And it's constant because the value may not change. And we use the bracket. I put string in between. The first one I'll use laptop. And the second one I'll use desktop. And the third one, I can put notepad. Wow, hope I'm doing the right thing. Now I want to use the forEach to go through, which means the forEach will go through each of the elements using their index. So first of all, I will call the PC type, and the forEach is a function. So every function must has a opening bracket and a closing bracket. Now inside this function, I want to declare another function, but this function will not have a name. It's an in-class function. So I just type function to declare this function. And whenever this function is going through each element, like laptop, desktop, and notepad, where will it be stored? I give it a name, PC. Or let me use item. each of these elements is going to be stored inside this item. So that I can have this item to work inside this function. So I open and close bracket so that I can enter my code. Now, by the first function that will, by the time the thing is going, this guy is going through each of the function, looking through them. The first one, what will I do with the first one? I want to print it to console. So I will say console dot log, which is print it at. It's still a function, so I'll open and close bracket. And what will I do? I can say write the item. You should print the laptop, the PC type, or I can add more to make it more descriptive. I can add more string to it. I can say this is the PC type. Put space. Then I will close this with a semicolon. By the time I run this is going to, what this will do is that for this list or array, it will go through each other. Then when they get to item, it will print this and it will print the value in this item on the screen. So let me try and run it. So you see, it has printed what I wrote there, even though I made mistake here, it has printed it. This one is for each. Then the other one that we'll have, which is mapping, that is map. I will explain that mapping is like when you are using a select statement. Mapping is very useful when you have objects. It maps out. Maybe you have, let me give an instance. Let me use declare another list that contain an object. And in this list, I will just write laptops as a list, and declare the list. Inside this list, I have two objects, and inside this object, I have make. I put semicolon to assign this value because it's an object, and assign this value inside this make. This is the feed. This is the feed value that I want to enter. The make is HP, so it should be under double quote, is string HP. Then apart from the make, let me say color. So I'll still use colon and put the color here. I'll assign a value to the color, and the color here will be, let's say, black. It's an object that has two feeds. So I'll put comma here. I want to write another object, and this object will be there. Another laptop object there, and there I'll make is there, and the color is white. It's like color is, let me change the color. It's like color is being used. It's a keyword. Let me just make it not to look like. Okay. Okay, let me use PC color, sorry. Wow, it's still giving me the same thing. I don't know why. Okay. PC. Oh, maybe I didn't put something there. Okay. PC color and colon PC color is, let me say, white. It's giving okay. Let me go through it.
Yeah. Like you're missing a comma, like after the HP, the make HP.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so this I've created an object. I've created a list that contains two objects. Now the first object is HP by make and black by PC color. Then the second object is there and black by PC color. The first element you see here is like this HP will be stored in this make. This black will be stored in this color. This is actually a feed, or what you can call it, a variable that is created within this object. Now, what I want to do now is to use the map. Map can pick only, we map is like in your table, when you have table, columns in a table, even in Excel. Map, I can use map to pick only HP and there, which is I can pick only the make using map and return it and use it. If you create another array for me or another list that I can use to do something else. Now, for me to do that, let me remove this guy. So I can now I have to create another array, because if we return another array, it will map out another array that we use for something else. So I use const, and I can make it a PC. This is laptop make, because I'm not interested in the color. I'm only interested in the make of all the objects that are in this list. Now I will now put equals to, I'll look at the object is laptop. I'll type it. Now I will now use map. As it is, it's still a function. So I'll use function. Now under this function, I will declare what I want to do with it. Okay. So if I'm wrong, correct me. So I need to map something, and let me put laptop dot make.
Okay, so sorry for coming in now. You forgot to pass in that laptop as the argument.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Item. Can I use item, sir?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
So that will be
so
item dot
say
make.
item, yeah. Okay, item dot make. Yeah, this is the. I think I need to return item dot make. So if I'm correct, but the essence of this is that I don't need the color. I don't need everything. Wow. Please let me just quickly check something. Sorry, I was trying to go through the code you did the other time to see if I
Okay,
fixed something.
item dot make dot. Yeah, I think that's a colon in between.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, sir. Okay. What happened here is that I was not actually assigning a value, so I use colon. I'm supposed to be referencing a property, a feed. Okay, thank you, sir. So, which means in this case, I can still use this console.log. Let me copy this for quick so that it's fast. But in this case, I'm using this guy because this guy is an array that has been created now. This guy is no longer having one. It's no longer having just. It's no longer having both del that is make and PC color. It's having only make and it's a string, an array of makes. So by the time I copy this guy and put it here, this guy will print only the make, ignoring the colors.
Yeah, we need to. You didn't call. You forgot to copy the laptop make and PC color.
Oh, okay, it's true, sir. Thanks, sir. Oh, it's true. I didn't copy. Did I say? Let me see what I'm doing wrong here.
Hello, Emmanuel.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, okay. I've seen what is causing it. I've already created that class. I don't need to copy it again. I need to copy only this guy. Then I paste. Sadly,
So,
I mean,
like, okay, like the problem is, okay, one thing, just refresh your Windows. That particular, just for simplicity's sake, just refresh.
Okay. This particular place.
Yeah, just refresh the browser itself, that particular window. All right.
Okay.
So just then paste it again over there. It should work.
Okay,
Everything.
sir. Okay. It's no longer interested in the color. So if I want to pick out some colors from that list, I can use this. But what about if, like in SQL statements, where you put your where clause? I don't want to get for everybody.
Okay, that is where that's where
Dio.
Yeah, that's where Dio will come in. So thank you very much. Dio, please quickly wrap it up so that we can.
Okay.
All right. So Can
Can't
Mr.
share my
Emmanuel just stop sharing the screen?
Okay. How do I even stop this damn thing? Why is it coming? Okay, I've done that, sir.
screen. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, but I think Mr. Emmanuel is still sharing his screen, please.
Okay. Okay, can I go on?
Yes. Yes.
Like, okay, so in order not to waste our time, I have done some examples already. So for each, for the map and for the pattern. Okay, so for this, for let me quickly explain before each one. So we have this array called array one, and it has A, B, C, D, E in it. So I use the array one dot for each, just like Emmanuel has explained before. So array one dot for each function, each element. You are going to console each element. You are going to console the log each element out. So when I run it, so I'm using my terminal. So so each element are going to be printed. And if I want to add extra to it, I can just say let's say alphabet. So when I run this, without it, okay, I just say so when I run it, I'm going to add it to it that alphabet A. So that's it for it. Then going to the map on. Okay, so this is also an array having numbers 1 to 5 in it. Then to do that, I'll say const. I made a constant. I made the variable called map one. Then inside it, I'm not saving. So you said and you said a map is going to if you want to produce, if you want to make another it's going to make an array entirely, another different array from the one you are using. So array one dot map function. Then this is my element. I'm making my element x. Then I'm now returning element x times 2. So meaning I'm creating another separate another separate what's the name now? Another separate array containing the answer to whatever I'm doing. So when I run this, map. It works before. So what it was supposed to print was I'm multiplying my element, each element by 2. Like now, 1 times 2, 2 times 2, 3 times 2, 4 times 2, and 5 times 2.
Dio, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear you?
Oh yeah. Just bring line 5 outside. Just bring it outside. Just bring it
Okay, okay,
outside
okay.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So it's multiplying each of my elements by 2. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So that's the result. Yes. Then I think that's clear. Then the one of and one of filter. Okay, filter on what, like you also said, the filter is also going to give you another different going to give another different array, like another different list, just like the map or map test. So this one now, what I did is my array, I have a function called what, and it contains this array, three limit, like this and the remaining one. So I did another constant is just equals to word dot filter, then function. This is now my element word. Then I added word dot length. If my word dot length is greater than 6, meaning this spray now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 letters, limit is 5, daylight is 5. Then this one is greater than 5. This one is greater than 5. Present, I think present is greater than 5. So now I said if my word dot length is greater than 6, you should console them out. So when I run this, that's same thing. So when I run this, okay. I don't know I'm getting an error now.
Can anyone spot the reason why Dio is getting an error? Can anyone comment? Okay, if no one is commenting, just return the console.log back outside. You should be returning. Okay, line 4 should be a return.
Okay, return.
Okay, and don't forget to bring out the console.log.
Take out the console. Okay.
Okay, so return this value for me. This one is greater than 6, this one is greater than 6, and the last one is also greater than 6. So I think that's all for the higher diameter.
So thank you very much, Dio. Thank you, Emmanuel, as well. So thank you everyone for joining today's class. So I'll be expecting every one of us to, like, at least maybe push some questions to me over Slack, or like you can also throw the questions out on the group as well, like on the Slack channel. Just ask your questions during the course of the week. So over the course of the week as well, I'll be passing some assignments to us as well. So at this moment, there is no I won't be giving assignments now, like during this class now. So but I'll be sending it to us via the um, group, as in via the Slack channel. So look forward to that as well. So that will be all for now. That'll be all for today. Thank you very much for coming to class, and I hope this class was able to like teach us one or two things. So if you do have any challenge as well, feel free to drop your questions to me directly on Slack channel via private chat, or generally on the group. So the recording as well for this class, I'll post it as well. So that'll be all for now. Does anyone have any question before we end the meeting? Kindly raise your hands. So if no one else is, then that'll be the end. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful sun. Oh, okay. Please speak up, Mr. Akinde. Mr. Kindele?
Sorry, that was a mistake. I didn't mean to raise up my hand.
All right. So then that will be the end of the class. Thank you all for joining.